So when he appeared before the Prophet ﷺ in this condition, and actually lice was walking on his forehead, the Prophet ﷺ made a remark and he said that, I didn't know that it was hurting you that much. Do you have a sheep? He said, no. He said, go ahead and shave, okay, and fast for 3 days, feed 6 masakin, or fast for 3 days. So the ulama concluded from that, and there is a Quranic reference to that, that فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ بِهِ أَدَمْ مِنْ رَأْسِهِ فَفِدْيَةٌ مِنْ صِيَامٍ أَوْ صَدَقَةٍ أَوْ نُسُكٍ. So the person in the state of ihram, upon having to shave for any reason, would be given the choice to offer which penalty he can afford. If he can afford to pay to buy a sheep and slaughter, that's fine. If he would like, he can just feed 6 masakin of al-haram by giving each one of them half sa', and a sa' is equal to 1.5 kilogram of dates, raisin, or any average food that the people consume in the area. Or fast for 3 days if a person has to clip nails or shave the hair. What if a person does any of those violations of shaving, removing hair, clipping nails, or wearing a kufi, or wearing the regular clothes, stitched clothes, unknowingly, or out of forgetfulness? In this case, he only owes asking for forgiveness and immediately have to change that mistake by taking off the cap if he's wearing a cap, or taking off his regular clothes and putting on the ihram clothes back. Changing the mistake and asking for forgiveness without any penalty, simply because that person did that while forgetting or unknown.
You know, Hajj these days is in the winter months, and I don't personally know how cold it gets in Mecca during the winter months, but say it becomes very cold. Does the situation of wearing extra clothing, is it like the situation of being sick and having a necessity? Is the same rule apply?
You see, if a person wears a blanket, it's not considered as regular clothes because it was not made to fit. So a person may cast a blanket on top of his shoulders. But if he wears regular clothes, in this case, the penalty of shaving will be applicable there as well.
Okay. And Sheikh, we talked about a lot of the prohibitions, but sometimes people maybe take it a little bit too far. They start imagining that everything is prohibited. What are some of the things that are permissible in a state of ihram, especially those things that people may be confused about?
I'm very glad you raised this question and this issue, because unfortunately sometimes we see pilgrims performing tawaf in dirty ihram clothes. Then you wonder, ihram clothes are very cheap, so why you're wearing dirty clothes? Some people are under the impression that once you commence on a state of ihram, you're not allowed to change your ihram clothes. Nor are you allowed to take a shower or a bath. You're not allowed even to wash your clothes. This is totally wrong, and this is a great misunderstanding. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beautiful, and He likes beauty. If a person is in a state of ihram, he may take a shower, take a bath, whenever it's needed to clean up themselves. Just avoid using and applying any fragrance to the body or to their clothes. Can a person change their ihram clothes? Perfectly fine. They may change their ihram clothes as they wish, and it's not restricted at all. People ask about wearing a belt around their waist which has a wallet to preserve and protect their valuables and so on. It is permissible and it is allowed. However, I do not advise any person to carry their valuables in that belt, because it's like inviting, saying that I have valuables here. Rather, always upon performing the masha'ir and the manasik, especially the tawaf, you don't need to take any valuables with you. Leave all your valuables at your hotel room or with somebody, so that you can have clear mind while performing those acts of worship. We've talked about it is prohibited to wear anything that covers the head for men. You see, some people, they panic and they're very excessive in that regard, so that you see people do not ride in buses which have roofs, because they assume that that's a roof, and it's like wearing a cap or a hat, and it's one of the restrictions of ihram. This is wrong. we're talking about an object which would make a direct contact with your head, such as your ihram, a blanket, or a kufi, or a cap. But the umbrella, your tent, your room, the bus is all fine. No problem with that.
Sheikh, let me ask one more thing. We're almost out of time. We know that it's a very sacred state to be in ihram. What about committing sins during this time? Are sins considered worse during this time if people are backbiting or speaking coarsely or doing any of the other things that we would consider sins outside of ihram?
No one who's going for Hajj can afford messing up their Hajj by just talking about others, backbiting, vain talk, making lies. Why? You will spend a lot of money and you're making a lot of effort for one reason, hoping that Allah would accept this act of worship from you and will forgive you all your past sins. It's a sacred place and sacred time. Good deeds are being doubled and multiplied in so many folds. Similarly, sins will be doubled and multiplied because of the sacredness of the place and the time.
Thank you, Sheikh. I think we have a very strong understanding of ihram. We still have a lot more to cover with Hajj in general, and we'll do that and continue to do that in our next episode. Please stay tuned for that. We hope to see you then. I'm Musa Maguire. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
لبيك لا شريك لك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم